And if we could, it would never even go through the machine. The machine would not even make the part. Again, the customer wouldn't understand from their standpoint, fit, form, and function. Wire diameter was critical, we had to measure it. So in some cases, we have customers telling us what we need to measure, even though it may not be the fit, form, and function that you're looking at. With measurement, we also have variation, common cause variation, man, material, method, and machine, the 4 M's. We also have environment, but I didn't include that because it's not an M. So, with operator variation, obviously, one person measures it, another person measures it, they're going to get variation. We have to take that into consideration when we're reviewing our data and we're using it to make decisions. With material, impact of temperature. 20 to 50 degrees Celsius, thermal expansion amounts to 66 microns, or approximately 3/1000ths of an inch in a 20 centimeter length.
Here's your environment.
That's our environment. Thank you. That works too, so. Clamping, staging, and positioning. Those of us that have measured parts and are involved in measuring parts know that you have to take a lot of consideration in that. The way one person stages a part versus another one can induce variation. Again, as we're looking at all these things are things we want to make sure we're understanding, we're reducing the uncertainty so that the end result is making good decisions based on the data being collected. Last example of machine is an optical comparator versus a CMM. We know that measuring data is critical. We know that it affects both business and personal decisions. Measuring data is also used in business metrics. I'm going to turn it over to Brian. He's going to talk now about business metrics.
So as we kind of alluded to, we have a connection between measurements and metrics. So they go hand in hand because measurements are what go into a metric. So what is a metric? A metric is a quantitative way to assess performance. And what you measure will drive your decision making and the behavior for both personally and professionally. And this is true both of both soft and hard measurements. I think the other part of roughly my career was working and why I would say metrics has gone is that it drives behavior. There's things that happen and so a company creates a metrics and says, hey, do this, so the goals and everything are established from that. And the years of manufacturing, had several metrics that I've worked off of. But just an interesting little story in lawn care sales. I actually last summer, due to our economy and my desire to work, went and actually sold some lawn care services. So in this, and actually in this type of sales, it's going door to door. You're trying to convince customers to buy your product, but in this type of sales, your earnings, part of it came through bonus system that was paid out weekly. And so the desired goal as a salesperson was to go out and sell a full program of say 7 lawn treatments per year, plus any additional services that you could get of a lime treatment, aeration, etc. What they had is they had 2 types of bonuses. The first type of bonus they had was actually what they said was a front-end bonus. The front-end bonus was based on the percentage of the total dollar value for the number of treatments you were able to sign the customer up for per year. So you sold them 7 treatments, and that total amount of that was what you got paid. And so it was really the anticipated value of the sale. Second, what they had was what they called the back-end bonus. And the back-end bonus was the payout that you received for each treatment. So when a lawn was treated, if it was treated the previous week, you received that money and that percentage of the sale in your check as well. So this is the kind of questions I'm looking at. So how will this reward system drive you? What happens? So you got your money coming in for making the initial sale, but you knew down the road you'd have a treatment and you'd get additional money there. And to me, that helped drive me to get the highest sales possible, right? I want to take care of the customer, but I wanted to go out and get as many treatments as possible, as many add-ons as possible, But I also want to do it that would make the customer happy because I want to get the back end bonus as well. So that ended, but this spring I was actually contacted again to work for them. And based on some of the events that happened, I had questions on how they would deal with things and how they treated salespeople, how certain sales would happen. So I had several questions I asked. But one of the things I found out through those questions was that they had changed their bonus program. They now were only going to pay out a front-end bonus. They had taken away the back-end bonus. So what I just kind of have with that is that when you think about that, what drives behavior, how would this change the sales rep selling process? What do you care when you're going and knocking on that door, getting that customer out there, when you're working them towards yes, what does that do for driving your behavior? And the other question is, does the company really care about customer retention at that point? So the point I'm trying to make is that the choice of metrics will affect people. And so just going on a little bit, the metrics, you know, they can relate to a process, they can relate to an event or people. And there's three things that are, to me, are really crucial as part of the metrics. You need the measurement, again, whether that's a hard or soft measurement. You need to have the standard, and then also what is the reward. And so when you think about the metrics, it gets used to go and help set your goals, and it helps you specify what your rewards will be. And again, the selection of the elements on which to base the metrics, it is just critical. And now we're actually going to shift to the third part of our program. It's related to problem solving and problem definition. And we really get into what is a problem. The problem does not have an answer. Again, a problem does not have an answer. A problem is distinct from an exercise. And an exercise does have an answer. And at this time, we're going to hand this over to Peter Reed, and he is actually going to get into some more on problem definition. Okay.
So, see if,
Okay.
yeah, well, we just have one slide. Well, what I'll do here is elaborate a little bit on the distinction between problems and exercises. I think all of us, in the course of our schooling, we're familiar with exercises, so this should be fairly self-evident. By and large, exercises are pre-formulated so that the student does not have to undertake the difficult task of determining what the problem is in the first place. I think that's something that may not, with the distance we have from school, we may have forgotten that from time to time. Exercises typically have one and only one solution, and once they're solved, the exercises remain solved. And more often than not, exercises are usually the province of a single discipline. One other hazard, I might say, of exercises is that they instill another false lesson. That is that an activity is not a problem unless it can be defined clearly, precisely, unambiguously, and prior to one's working on it. Furthermore, it's not supposed to vary as someone works on the problem. Now, in contrast, I think we would all agree that problems are not necessarily pre-formulated. They often have more than one solution because they can have more than one formulation. And unlike exercises, problems are dynamic. And as we live in this world of the multidisciplinary, they're not the exclusive province of any single discipline or profession. Thus, problems are inherently messy. I've offered a simplistic equation here to illustrate what we mean when we talk about a problem. And by and large, we're looking at something that is the difference between what is ideal and what is